Hi, welcome to my video on the review of graphing a linear equation with two variables. I'm doing this review now to help you out when we graph a system of linear equations or solve a system of linear equations by graphing. So this is a review that I did on a topic called equation of a line. If you go back and look at the equation of a line, you see many videos on how to graph and find equations, etc., etc., etc. And one of the forms of an equation of a line with two variables is the slope y-intercept form of a linear equation. And that form is y equals mx plus b, where m and b belong, we could say, to the rational numbers. Q is for rational, where m is the slope of the line and b is the y-intercept of the line. Okay, if that be the case, you might have seen that before, heard of it. And if you didn't, there's a unit done before this called the equation of a line on my YouTube channel. And in each of these equations, let's pick out the following information. I have the equation y equals 2x minus 3. So there it is there. Let's write it down. Y equals mx plus b. M is 2, so the slope is 2. B is negative 3, so the y-intercept is negative 3. This equation, y equals negative 4x plus 5. M is negative 4, so the slope is negative 4. B is 5, so the y-intercept is 5. Again, y equals mx plus b. Y equals 1/3 x minus 1. M is 1/3, so the slope is 1/3. B is negative 1, so the y-intercept is negative 1. So that's just a little exercise in picking this out. Remember, I'm doing a review. If you want to pause the video and work these through and see how you're going to do, try it. See if you know how the topic on the equation of a line that I did earlier. And if you don't, review it, because the equation of a line is extremely, extremely important to know how to do. Change each to y equals mx plus b. State the slope and the y-intercept. So y is on the left, and the x moves over to become negative, and the 3 is positive. So notice m is negative 2, so the slope is negative 2. And b is my y-intercept, I'll just write that down, which is 3. So solve the equation for y. So it's y equals the negative, I got two y's here. Let's make that an oversight on my part, sorry about that. 3x plus 5. So note y. You could have two of these, but let's go with double variable of x and y. So the x moves over to become plus, and the 5 moves over to become plus. M is the slope, and the slope is 3. B is the y-intercept, just to make sure you can see it and know it. Apologize for that little error there. Sometimes when you're reading it over, you think you pick everything up, but sometimes it don't happen. C, 6x plus 2y equals 10. So 2y equals negative 6x plus 10. Again, y stays on the left, and the x and the constant number goes to the right. And we divide each of these by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3, with an x. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. So the slope, I'll just say the slope this time, is negative 3, and the y-intercept is 5. Remember, m is the slope, b is the y-intercept. D, solve this one, and I get a negative 5y equals negative 10x becomes a plus 10x, negative 15 becomes a plus 15, and I divide all the terms by negative. What we're doing is dividing each side by negative 5 to keep it balanced. But it's the same thing as dividing each of the terms by negative 5. That cancels. They give me They cancel. They give me 1, 1. So it's 1y. 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2x. 15 divided by negative 5 is a negative 3. E, we have to remove the brackets. So negative 4 times x, negative 4x. Negative 4 times negative 2y is 8y. 2 times x is 2x. And 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. And notice now that you can't add these together because they're on like terms, and you can't subtract these because they're on like terms. So the y goes on the left, and the x's go on the right with the constant. So notice this x moved over here to become plus. So we got 8y equals 6x minus 16. And we divide all the terms by 8. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. 6 and 8 can't divide, but 3 and the 2 and the 6 goes 3. 2 and the 8 goes 4. And 16 divided by 8 is 2. We reduce this down because that's the slope. Remember, it's easier to plot a slope with no lower numbers than it is always, and besides that, you always reduce your fractions. So that's a little review on writing down y equals mx plus b. And you have more practice. More practice means, now pause the video and see if you can work the 3 of these out and get the right answers. Here we go. Y equals 6x minus 2, and the slope is the m, so the slope is the 6, and the y-intercept is the negative 2. That's an m, that's your b. And this one, 12x minus 6y equals 18. The y stays on the left. The x moves to the right side along with the constant. So the plus 12 becomes a minus, and we divide all the terms by negative 6 because we just want a y here. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is 1y. There's a 1 right there. Negative 12, negative 6 is 2x, and negative 3. And the slope is the m, which is 2, and the y-intercept is the b, which is a negative 3. So there's y equals mx plus b. Slope 2, y-intercept negative 3. And we have to simplify this first, so we do PEMDAS. Think about PEM, P-E-M-D-A-S. The brackets we can't add, they're on like. Can't subtract, sorry. You can't add these because they're on like. So we have to remove, there's no powers. So we have to multiply these two and these, and we leave that alone till after. So 2 times 4x, 8x. 2 times negative y, negative 2y. Negative 3 times y, negative 3y. Negative 3 times x, negative 3x, minus 7. So the y's go to the left, so the plus becomes, the minus 3y becomes a plus 3y. Negative 3x, the 8 comes over, become negative 8x. And we have a negative 7. So that gives us negative 2 plus 3 is 1. And that gives us a negative 11x minus 11. So the slope is the m, y equals mx plus b, so the slope is negative 11, and the y-intercept is the b, which is the negative 7. So a bit of practice, because you're going to have to, when you solve a linear system by graphing, you do each equation like I'm showing you here. Graph each on the axes provided. Now when we graph, we know that the slope is 3, and we know that the b is negative 2, so that's your slope of 3, and this is your y-intercept of negative 2. And the slope is 3 over 1. So when we graph y equals mx plus b, we plot the y-intercept first. So the y-intercept is negative 2. So there's the y-axis. So the y-intercept is right there of negative 2. Remember, another way, if you let x equal 0, x is 0 on the y-axis. So when you let x equal 0 and put it in here, you get 3 times 0 is 0, so you get a negative 2. So the y-intercept is when you let x equal 0. Or when you solve it like this, the y-intercept is the -2, which is the same as this. So we plot the y-intercept of -2. Slope is 3 over 1. So we rise 3, 1, 2, 3, run 1. Because 3 over 1 is positive 3 is up 3, and right 1. And we go again, 1, 2, 3, right 1. And that enables us to draw the line through those points. And plotting more than one point keeps it lined up better. And here we go. You put arrowheads on the end of that because there's many, many, many points on this line. B, we have the y equals a negative half x plus 4. Again, we have the m as negative 1/2. We have the b as 4. So we have our slope as a negative 1/2, and we have our y-intercept as 4. So we plot the y-intercept. The y-intercept is on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3. The y-intercept is 4, so we got that plotted. And the slope is a negative 1 over 2 from the y-intercept. So we go down 1, right 2. Again, we go down 1, right 2. Notice the slope is negative 1. So when you do a slope, you go up or down and to the right. So this number is normally plus or minus, but the bottom is always plus. So you can go up or down and always to the right. We never have a negative on the bottom. So you line those points up with your ruler, and just to make it, we draw it freehand and I won't be so accurate, but you get the idea what I'm talking about. There's the line that has this equation passing through these points. And that's graphing it. Let me turn over here now. And practice means you work these out and see what happens. So what do we have up here? We have, if you look at it, we have the slope is negative 3. The y-intercept is 3. Remember, this is y equals mx plus b. So m is negative 3, b is 3. So that's the slope is negative 3, the y-intercept is 3. And just remind you that this is a practice, so at any time you can pause your video and work this out first. And we plot the y-intercept first, which is 3, which is right there. So here's this point right here is 0, 0. So the y-intercept on the y-axis is 3 right here. And the slope is a negative 3 over 1, because you got to have a rise over run. So it's negative 3, so from this point we go down 3 and to the right 1. We go down 3 again, 1, 2, 3, right 1. So we draw the line through those points. And here we go. Line it up. So that's the line. This is the line that is represented by this equation. And the second one, we have, let's do m this time, and then the b. So y equals mx plus b. So the m is 3 over 2, and the b is negative 4. And we should know that the slope is the m, so that's 3 over 2, and the y-intercept is the b, and the y-intercept is negative 4. So we plot the y-intercept first. So the y-intercept is negative 4, which is right here. There's the y-axis. So what? Negative 4 on the y-axis, start here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the y-intercept, where it cuts the y-axis. And the slope is 3 over 2. So that's up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 2, up 3. That's a plus, right. So that's 3 plus 3 over plus 2. So it's up 3, 1, and right 2. Again, 1, 2, 3, right 2, 1, 2. And we draw the line going through these 3 points. Right here, line it up. Here we go. There it is. But now we're head on it because the line continues on up and down from here. So that's graphing it. So get an idea how to graph a line given its y equals mx plus b form. Excuse me for a second, I'll just gotta line this up, make sure everything is okay. Now we have practice, and practice means we have to graph these three on this axis, on each of these axes. So to graph we need what? Y equals mx plus b. So that means we have to take this equation and solve it for y. So 5y equals negative 10 becomes a plus 10x minus 15. And we divide by 5, each term divided by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2x. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. So the m is negative 2, the b is negative 3. So that means the slope is negative 2, and your y-intercept is negative 3. So we plot the y-intercept first when we have y equals mx plus b. The y-intercept is negative 3. So there's a 0, negative 1, negative 2, right there. There's the y-intercept. And the slope is negative 2, understood to be over 1. So that means you go down 2. Oop. Now note, I just looked. I'm going to go run off the paper if I go down 2, right 1, down 2 again. I look back here and I see negative 10 and moved it over. I forgot to make it a plus. So that's a plus 2. Because normally I try to keep the equation and the graph so when I graph it, it stays on the paper that I have. So I moved the negative 10 over to become a plus. That's a 2, and that's a 2, and so that's a 2. So I can see where my mistake is. So it's a 2 over 1. So the y-intercept is negative 3. Now I go plus 2, so it's up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. And I knew I made an error because normally when I graph, I stay on the graph paper that I have when I'm plotting my lines. So be careful, as I do, be careful. I got to be careful all the time because I make what I call those odd errors. I know what I'm doing, but I, transpose that over and forgot to make it a plus. So it's just a little error. And number 2, we got to graph this one. So we got a negative 3y equals. Negative becomes a positive. Positive becomes a negative. So y equals mx plus b, ready? I divide every term by negative 3. They cancel out to give me a 1 and a 1, so that's y equals. And a positive over a negative, so it's, you never leave the negative on the bottom. Never leave the negative on the bottom. So positive divided by negative is a negative 2 over 3. Negative divided by negative is positive. So I have m is negative 2. So I have a slope of negative 2 over 3. Slope is negative 2 over 3. B is 2. So the y-intercept is 2. So on my y-axis, the y-intercept is 2. 1, 2 right there. And the slope is negative, so I go down 2, and that's a plus. Down 2, right 3. Down 2, right 3. And then I go again, down 2, right 3. So I have the 3 of those, and I draw my line. There it is. So that's the line that represents that equation. Remember, solving it for y gives you y equals mx plus the easy way to graph. And number 3, we have a bracket, but we have to remove the bracket first. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times a negative half is a negative 1. And x minus 1. So that gives me 2y equals x minus 1 plus 1. So it gives me 2y equals, they cancel out, so x. So I divide by 2 each side, y equals, and there's a 1, so that's a 1/2 x. Now notice that I cancel these out because they add up to give me 0, but if I left a 0 there, like that, and I divide it by 2, then I would have had a 0 here. Well, we know in math that having a 0, you know, a half x plus 0 is the same as a half x. But knowing that that's a 0, remember, I have m as a half, and I have b as 0 now. So that's the slope of a half, and my y-intercept is 0. So if I had y equals a half x like that, there's no number on the end, so that means it's understood to be a 0 here. So if you put the 0 in, then you won't make the mistake. So the y-intercept is 0. You don't see any number. Y equals mx plus 0. So the y-intercept is 0, which means it's passing through the origin of 0, 0. And the slope is up 1, right 1. Up 1, right 2. Plus and plus. So up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. And we draw the line passing to those 3 points. Remember, 2 points will do it. I just draw an extra one just to make sure to line it up better. That's all. And not only that, in my unit on the equation of a line, is also there how you graph all this. So if you did that unit first, then this unit in graphing, or what we're going to do solve by graphing, it'll be much easier. Equation of a line is extremely, extremely important. And if you like my video, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell because there's more videos coming. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information on me, my videos, and the content on my YouTube channel. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.